The front doors of Sterling Technologies burst open as Victoria Sterling stumbled down the marble steps, clutching her throat. Help! Somebody help! Her knees buckled. The crystal glass she had been holding shattered across the ground, drawing screams from employees pouring out of the building. Security guards rushed toward her while executives stood frozen in disbelief. "Call an ambulance!" one guard shouted. Victoria gasped for air, her face turning pale. "I can't breathe." Within seconds, sirens echoed through downtown as paramedics surrounded the richest self-made woman in the city. Reporters who had been waiting outside for a scheduled press conference immediately turned their cameras toward the scene. Billionaire Victoria Sterling has collapsed. Was she poisoned? Is this a medical emergency? The questions came faster than answers. Inside the crowd, one young woman covered her mouth to stop herself from crying. Emily Carter. She wasn't an executive. She wasn't family. She wasn't even supposed to be there. She was simply the maid who cleaned Victoria Sterling's mansion every morning before heading to her evening accounting classes. Unlike everyone else staring in shock, Emily remembered something that made her blood run cold. Just 10 minutes earlier, she had watched someone switch Victoria's glass. The ambulance doors slammed shut. As it sped away, Emily whispered to herself, "They're trying to kill her." If you're someone who enjoys emotional stories filled with shocking twists and unforgettable endings, make sure you subscribe now so you don't miss what happens next. 3 years earlier, Emily had never imagined her life would become connected to one of the most powerful women in the country. She had taken the housekeeping job because she desperately needed money. Her mother, Linda, had been diagnosed with kidney disease, and every hospital visit drained what little savings they had. Every morning before sunrise, Emily boarded 2 buses to reach Victoria's enormous estate. She dusted priceless artwork. She polished marble floors. She cleaned rooms larger than the apartment she shared with her mother. Yet, despite Victoria's unimaginable wealth, the mansion never felt like a home. It felt like a museum. Cold, silent, perfect. Victoria rarely smiled. She rarely spoke. When she did, every sentence sounded like an order. "Emily." "Yes, ma'am?" "The library shelves are out of alignment." Emily looked carefully. "They're less than an inch apart." "I know. I'll fix them immediately." Victoria simply nodded before walking away. Some of the staff hated working for her. "She doesn't even say thank you," one cook complained. "Money made her heart disappear," another maid whispered. Emily never joined the gossip. She always answered quietly, "I don't think she's heartless." The others laughed. "You've got to be kidding." Emily continued folding towels. "I think she's lonely." That made everyone laugh even harder. Lonely? How could a billionaire be lonely? Emily didn't argue. Instead, she remembered the nights she found Victoria sitting alone in the mansion's massive dining room, eating dinner by herself at a table built for 20 people. No laughter, no family, no friends, only silence. Victoria had built Sterling Technologies from a tiny software company into a billion-dollar empire after spending 25 years working almost every waking hour. She had trusted people once. Her former business partner had stolen millions. The man she planned to marry had secretly dated another woman while asking her to invest in his failing company. Even distant relatives only appeared when they needed money. Little by little, she stopped believing in loyalty. Contracts replaced friendships. Lawyers replaced conversations. Success replaced happiness. The only family member she still tolerated was her nephew, Ryan Sterling. Ryan loved telling everyone he would someday inherit the empire. "My aunt built it," he often bragged at expensive restaurants. "I'll make it even bigger." The truth was much simpler. Ryan had never built anything. He enjoyed luxury cars, private jets, designer watches, lavish vacations. His lifestyle depended entirely on Victoria's fortune. There was also Daniel Brooks, Sterling Technologies' chief financial officer. Calm, polite, professional. He always agreed with Victoria during meetings. "Excellent decision. I completely support your vision. The shareholders will appreciate this." Victoria considered him one of the few executives she could trust. Emily wasn't so sure. Every time Daniel visited the mansion, something about his smile felt rehearsed. His eyes never smiled. One rainy evening, Emily stayed later than usual because one of the housekeepers had called in sick. As she carried fresh towels upstairs, she noticed voices coming from Victoria's private study. The door wasn't completely closed. She had no intention of listening, but one sentence stopped her. "We're running out of time," Ryan said. Emily froze. Daniel answered calmly, "She still hasn't signed the expansion agreement. Then we'll force her." "And if she refuses," Daniel chuckled, "she won't have a choice." Emily's heart began pounding. Ryan lowered his voice. "Are you sure nobody suspects us?" Daniel laughed. "She trusts me more than anyone." Emily accidentally shifted her weight. The wooden floor creaked. Silence. "Who's there?" Ryan shouted. Emily quickly hurried away before anyone opened the door. She barely made it around the corner before the study door swung open. Daniel stepped into the hallway. He looked both directions. Emily pressed herself against the wall, hidden behind a large decorative cabinet. After several tense seconds, Daniel returned inside. Emily waited nearly 2 minutes before breathing again. She couldn't stop thinking about what she'd heard. Force her? Force Victoria to do what? The next morning, Emily debated whether she should say something. Every instinct told her she should. But who would believe a maid accusing the company's most trusted executive? Finally, she wrote a short, anonymous note. "Be careful. Someone close to you is planning something. Trust your instincts, not appearances." She slipped the folded paper beneath Victoria's office door before beginning her cleaning duties. An hour later, Victoria called all the household staff into the living room. Emily's stomach tightened. Victoria held the note between 2 fingers. "Who wrote this?" Nobody answered. "I dislike anonymous games." Still silence. If someone has something to say, they may say it directly. Emily stared at the floor. Victoria calmly dropped the note into the fireplace. "It changes nothing." She walked away without another word. Emily felt her hope disappear with the burning paper. That afternoon, Ryan arrived unexpectedly. Emily was arranging flowers in the entrance hall when she heard raised voices. "I deserve a bigger role in the company," Ryan argued. "You deserve exactly what you've earned," Victoria replied. "I am family. Family isn't a job qualification." Ryan's face turned red. "You don't trust anyone." Victoria looked directly into his eyes. "No." "Why?" "Because trust is expensive." Ryan laughed bitterly. "One day you'll regret treating people like this." Victoria answered without emotion. "I regret nothing." Ryan stormed toward the front door. As he passed Emily, he forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Enjoy working here while it lasts." Emily watched him leave, an uneasy feeling settling deep inside her. She couldn't explain it, but she was certain something terrible was coming. And she had no idea she would soon become the only person standing between a ruthless conspiracy and the billionaire everyone else had already decided to betray. Victoria tried to bury Ryan's words beneath another 16-hour workday, but trouble arrived before sunset. Her assistant rushed into the executive conference room without knocking. "Ma'am, you need to see this." Victoria frowned. "This meeting isn't over." "I'm sorry, but every financial news channel is reporting it." The large screen on the wall suddenly filled with breaking news. Sterling Technologies under investigation for financial fraud. Board members erupted into shocked whispers. "What? This can't be real." Victoria stood slowly. "Who released this?" "No one knows yet," her assistant replied. "The story went viral 20 minutes ago." Victoria slammed her hands onto the table. "It's a lie." But the damage had already begun. Investors started calling. Major clients canceled meetings. The company's stock price began falling by the minute. Daniel leaned forward with a look of concern. "We'll survive this." Victoria looked at him. "I hope you're right." Daniel nodded sympathetically. "We'll issue a statement immediately." No one noticed the small smile that crossed his face as he looked down at his phone. Across town, Emily watched the same news report from the waiting room of the hospital while her mother received treatment. Linda looked at the television and sighed. "Your employer is having a difficult day." Emily couldn't explain why her heart was racing. "I don't think this happened by accident." Linda smiled gently. "You always try to see the good in people." Emily slowly shook her head. "No, this time, I think I'm seeing the evil." The following evening, Victoria hosted an emergency dinner inside her mansion for senior executives and major investors. Emily and the other staff prepared the dining room in complete silence. Everyone could feel the tension. As the guests arrived, Daniel quietly pulled Ryan aside near the wine cabinet. Emily was arranging silverware only a few feet away. She couldn't hear every word, only fragments. "Tonight, She'll never recover. Don't make a mistake. Ryan nervously swallowed. Emily looked up just in time to see Ryan pick up 2 wine glasses. He looked around. Then, with trembling hands, he switched their positions. Emily frowned. Why would he do that? Before she could think further, another maid called her. Emily, the desserts are ready. She turned away for only a few seconds. When she looked back, Ryan had already returned to the dining room. Dinner began. Victoria remained calm despite the crisis surrounding her company. One investor finally spoke. Perhaps it's time to step down until the investigation is over. Victoria looked directly at him. I built this company. I won't abandon it because of lies. Daniel quickly intervened. Let's stay focused on solutions. He sounded loyal, supportive, exactly as expected. Emily carried another tray into the room. Her eyes immediately found the wine glass Ryan had switched. Victoria picked it up. Emily's heart nearly stopped. She wanted to scream. Instead, she froze. Victoria took one sip, another. Then, suddenly, the crystal glass slipped from her fingers. It shattered across the floor. Victoria grabbed her throat. Her breathing became shallow. The room exploded into panic. Someone call an ambulance! She's choking! Move! Ryan rushed toward his aunt, pretending to be horrified. Daniel shouted instructions to everyone. Emily stood motionless. She had seen it happen. She knew exactly which glass Victoria had been drinking from. Hours later, doctors managed to stabilize Victoria. The poison wasn't strong enough to kill her, one physician quietly told detectives, but another few minutes, and she probably wouldn't have survived. Police officers questioned everyone who attended the dinner. Ryan acted offended. You think I'd hurt my own aunt? Daniel remained calm. Our company has many enemies. Detectives agreed it could have been anyone. Emily sat outside the hospital room, twisting her fingers together. She couldn't stay silent anymore. When Detective Harris walked past, she stood. Sir, he stopped. Yes? I think I saw something. His expression changed. What did you see? Emily took a deep breath. I saw Mr. Ryan switch Mrs. Sterling's wine glass. The detective immediately wrote it down. Are you certain? Yes. Were you close enough to see clearly? I was only a few feet away. Before Harris could ask another question, Daniel appeared. There you are. He smiled politely. I've been looking everywhere. The detective turned. Mr. Brooks? Daniel nodded. I hope you're making progress. We're following every lead. Daniel noticed Emily. What led? The detective answered honestly. Miss Carter believes she saw Ryan switch the victim's wine. Daniel looked surprised, then disappointed. Oh, Emily frowned. What? Daniel sighed. Emily has been under enormous stress. My mother has been seriously ill. She's probably mistaken. Emily stared at him. I'm not mistaken. Daniel spoke softly. I understand this has been traumatic. I know you want to help, but accusing family members without proof could destroy innocent lives. Detective Harris slowly closed his notebook. We'll verify her statement. Daniel thanked him. After the detective left, Daniel's smile disappeared. He stepped closer to Emily. You should be careful. She met his eyes. Was that a threat? No, it was advice. He walked away. Emily suddenly felt cold. Someone had just tried to silence her without saying the words. 3 days later, Victoria returned home. Weaker, slower, but alive. Emily expected security to become tighter. Instead, something strange happened. Victoria became even more isolated. Daniel insisted she avoid unnecessary meetings. Ryan constantly visited, pretending to worry about her health. The mansion felt different, like every hallway was hiding secrets. Emily continued cleaning while quietly observing everything. One afternoon, she entered Daniel's temporary office to collect empty coffee cups. His laptop was still open. She had no intention of looking. Then, a familiar company logo caught her eye. Several financial files were displayed. Large payments, millions of dollars, transferred to overseas accounts. Emily's accounting classes immediately helped her recognize something wasn't right. Those transactions had been disguised. She quickly memorized one account number before footsteps echoed outside. She grabbed the cups and hurried out just as Daniel entered. He smiled. Everything clean? Yes, sir. He watched her leave a second longer than necessary. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. The numbers kept replaying inside her mind. The next evening, she secretly visited the public business records office after class. Using the account number she had memorized, she searched company filings. After nearly an hour, she found something shocking. The offshore company receiving Sterling Technologies money had only one hidden shareholder, Daniel Brooks. Emily covered her mouth. Oh my God. Her phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? A distorted voice whispered, "If you value your life, stop asking questions." The line went dead. Emily looked around the nearly empty parking lot. Someone was watching her. She hurried home, trying not to panic. The next morning, before she could decide what to do with the information, chaos erupted again. One of the senior housekeepers stormed into the servants' quarters holding a velvet jewelry box. "My diamond necklace is gone!" Everyone looked at one another. Security immediately searched every employee. Emily remained calm. She had stolen nothing. Then a guard opened her locker. Inside sat the missing necklace. The room fell silent. Emily's face turned white. "No! I've never seen that before." The housekeeper pointed at her. "Liar!" Two security officers grabbed Emily by the arms. "I didn't take it." Victoria entered the hallway just as the shouting reached her office. "What is happening?" Daniel answered before anyone else could. The necklace was found in Emily's locker. Victoria looked at Emily. For a brief second, Emily thought she saw doubt in Victoria's eyes. Then Victoria spoke the words that shattered her heart. "Dismiss her immediately." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Ma'am, please." "I didn't do this." Victoria looked away. "I have no tolerance for theft." Emily realized then that the only person who could save the billionaire had just been thrown out of her life. Emily stood frozen as one of the guards handed her a small cardboard box containing the few personal belongings she had kept at the mansion. A framed photograph of her and her mother, a notebook from her accounting classes, a worn-out lunch container. 3 years of loyal service had been reduced to a box that barely weighed anything. She looked toward Victoria one last time. "Ma'am." Victoria didn't turn around. "Please, leave the property." The mansion gates slowly closed behind Emily. As she walked away, tears rolled down her face, not because she had lost her job, but because she knew the woman she had tried so hard to protect was now completely surrounded by enemies. When Emily reached home, Linda immediately noticed her swollen eyes. "What happened?" Emily forced a smile. "I got fired." Linda sat beside her. "You didn't steal anything." Emily shook her head. "They planted it." Linda took her daughter's hands. "Then don't give up." Emily looked exhausted. "They won't listen to a maid." "Maybe." Linda smiled gently, "but the truth doesn't care about someone's job title." Those words reignited something inside Emily. The next morning, she visited Detective Harris. "I know who has been stealing from Sterling Technologies." The detective frowned. "Do you have proof?" "Not yet." "Then I can't arrest anyone. I don't need you to arrest them today. I just need you to promise that if I bring evidence, you'll look at it." Detective Harris studied her face. Unlike the executives he questioned every day, Emily wasn't trying to protect herself. She was trying to protect someone who had fired her. Finally, he nodded. "You bring me real evidence, and I'll act." Emily smiled for the first time in days. "Thank you." Meanwhile, inside Sterling Technologies, the conspiracy entered its final stage. Daniel stood before the board of directors. Victoria's recent health issues have affected her judgment. Several directors exchanged worried looks. Ryan added dramatically, "My aunt refuses to rest. I'm concerned she's no longer capable of leading the company." One elderly board member sighed. "This isn't easy." Daniel slid several forged medical reports across the table. "Our legal team recommends appointing an interim CEO." Everything was happening exactly as they had planned. That afternoon, Victoria walked into the boardroom. She immediately sensed something was wrong. 30 faces looked back at her without warmth. Daniel stood. "Victoria, we believe it's time you stepped aside." Silence. Then another director spoke. "We're voting today." Victoria looked around the room. "After everything we've built together?" Nobody answered. One by one, hands went up. The vote was overwhelming. Victoria Sterling was removed as CEO of the company she had spent 25 years building. She quietly gathered her briefcase. Not one person offered to help. Outside the building, dozens of reporters surrounded her. "Did you commit fraud? Are you resigning permanently? Is your company collapsing?" Victoria said nothing. For the first time in decades, she looked defeated. Back at the mansion, Ryan celebrated with champagne. "We did it." Daniel raised his glass. "Not yet." "What do you mean?" "As long as Victoria is alive, there's still a risk." Ryan slowly lowered his drink. What are you suggesting? Daniel smiled. Loose ends should never remain loose. Ryan stared at him. You said we were only taking the company. Daniel's voice turned cold. I lied. Ryan suddenly realized he had become a pawn, too. Across town, Emily had spent 2 sleepless nights studying every financial record she could legally access. The hidden transactions formed a pattern. Daniel had stolen hundreds of millions over 6 years. Every fake scandal, every market crash, every forged report, every lie. It all pointed back to him. But she still needed something undeniable. Then she remembered the mansion's security cameras. If they still stored old recordings, the footage of Ryan switching the wine glasses might still exist. Late that night, Emily quietly climbed over the rear wall of the Sterling estate. Her heart pounded. She wasn't there to steal. She was there to save the woman who no longer trusted her. She slipped through the servants' entrance using an old access code that still worked. The mansion was almost empty. Most of the staff had been sent home. Emily hurried toward the security office. She switched on the monitor. Dozens of recordings appeared. She searched by date, then by time. Finally, there it was. The dining room. Ryan looking around. Ryan switching the glasses. Emily's hands trembled. I knew it. She copied the video onto a flash drive, then searched another folder. Her eyes widened. The cameras had also recorded Daniel secretly entering Victoria's private office several nights before the fake fraud scandal. He photographed confidential files. He planted forged documents inside her desk. Emily whispered, "This is everything." Suddenly an alarm echoed through the hallway. Access detected. Emily froze. Footsteps thundered toward the security room. Someone's inside! She grabbed the flash drive and ran. 2 guards spotted her. Stop! Emily sprinted through the mansion. She turned a corner. Another guard appeared. She doubled back toward the garage. Daniel himself stepped out of the shadows. So, I knew you'd come back. Emily backed away. You'll never get away with this. Daniel laughed. You still don't understand. No one believes maids. He stepped closer. Give me the drive. Emily shook her head. Never. Daniel lunged. Emily dodged him and ran into the underground parking garage. Car engines roared to life. Guards chased her between expensive vehicles. She spotted a motorcycle with its keys still inside. Without thinking, she jumped on. The engine started instantly. She sped toward the exit as guards shouted behind her. A security SUV tried to block the ramp. Emily swerved at the last second, squeezing through a narrow gap. The motorcycle shot into the street. She didn't stop until she reached the police station. Breathless, she rushed inside. Detective Harris, I have it. Minutes later, the detective watched every recording. His jaw tightened. He immediately called for backup. Get me warrants for Daniel Brooks and Ryan Sterling. Now. The next morning, shareholders gathered for an emergency meeting. Victoria had been invited only to finalize her resignation. She stood before the board with tired eyes. If this is what you want. The conference room door suddenly burst open. Everyone turned. Emily walked in beside Detective Harris. Gasps filled the room. Ryan's face lost all color. Daniel remained calm. This is highly inappropriate. Detective Harris placed a laptop on the table. I think everyone should watch this first. The first video played. Ryan switching the poisoned wine glasses. The room erupted. What? Oh my goodness. Ryan stumbled backward. I can explain. The second recording began. Daniel planting false evidence. Then came the bank records. The offshore accounts, the forged medical reports, the secret recordings of Daniel discussing the takeover. Every lie collapsed in front of everyone. Daniel suddenly bolted for the door. Police officers tackled him before he reached it. Ryan dropped into a chair, burying his face in his hands. It's over. Victoria looked at Emily in complete disbelief. You. Emily smiled through tears. I told you someone close to you was planning something. Victoria remembered the anonymous note, the warning, the pleading, the tears when Emily had been fired. Every moment suddenly made sense. Weeks later, Daniel and Ryan were convicted for conspiracy, attempted murder, fraud, and embezzlement. Sterling Technologies recovered. The company's reputation slowly returned. But Victoria had changed even more. One quiet afternoon, she arrived at Emily's modest home, carrying no security entourage. Emily opened the door in surprise. Ma'am? Victoria looked around the tiny living room and saw Linda resting peacefully after successful treatment. You spent years taking care of your mother. Emily nodded. Family comes first. Victoria's eyes filled with emotion. And while doing that, you still risked your life to save mine. Emily smiled softly. It was the right thing to do. Victoria took a deep breath. I've spent most of my life believing money was the most valuable thing I owned. She gently shook her head. I was wrong. She handed Emily a folder. Inside was a full scholarship to complete her accounting degree, a contract offering her a senior financial position after graduation, and documents naming her a founding director of the Sterling Foundation, a charity dedicated to helping hardworking families pay for medical treatment. Emily stared at the papers in disbelief. I don't know what to say. Victoria smiled, a real smile, perhaps the first in years. Say you'll help me build a company where loyalty matters more than titles. Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. I will. Months later, at the company's annual shareholders meeting, Victoria stood on stage before thousands of employees. There was a time when I believed trust was a weakness. She paused and looked toward the front row, where Emily sat beside her mother. I know better now. She invited Emily onto the stage. The audience rose to its feet in a thunderous standing ovation. Victoria turned to the crowd. The woman who saved this company wasn't an executive. She wasn't a lawyer. She wasn't an investor. She was the maid who refused to betray the truth. The applause grew even louder, because everyone in that room finally understood something money could never buy. True loyalty doesn't come from wealth. It comes from character. And sometimes, the person who changes your life is the one you never thought to notice. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this, and leave a comment below telling us, do you think true loyalty still exists today, or has it become rare? Your thoughts might inspire someone else. Until the next story, thank you for watching.